Hi crafty folks, Amy here with Amy's Wares, and today I'm going to use some beautiful Nouveau shimmer powders with this fabulous new stencil. This is the Intricate Diamonds. It's part of the February 2023 release at A Colorful Life Designs. I did spritz it with some pixie spray, and I have a piece of watercolor paper here. Now I'm going to use these three colors of Nouveau shimmer powders, and together they will form kind of different colors when they mix and match on my card panel here. But I'm going to use this little spray bottle of water to activate it, and here is a photo of the finished card to show you where we're going with this. So it's a really easy technique. It might work without pixie spray. I feel like I've done it before without, but you're gonna definitely have better luck, I think, if you use pixie spray on the back of your stencil, just to help it really hold down onto your paper and so it won't get up underneath all the little details. But I'm just laying down little piles of this Nouveau shimmer powder. Now, don't squeeze these bottles. You'll make a big mess and waste a bunch of the product. So just kind of tap on the underside of the bottle and put down all these little piles of powder all over your card front. Now I'm going to come in with this little spray bottle of water and activate this powder. So it's basically like a pigment powder or a watercolor powder, and this has a bunch of shimmer in it, thus the Nouveau shimmer powders. But this never ceases to amaze me. It always creates such beautiful colors where they mix together, and you get little pools of water, and it's always crazy, the detail. No matter how intricate your stencil, the detail always remains, especially if you're using pixie spray. So I'm just kind of working through spritzing water as I go. If there's little stubborn piles that don't want to activate, I'll use this little brush just to kind of blend it together. You don't want to leave piles of the powder behind. You want to make sure that it's fully wet because those will brush right off if they aren't activated. Now these can probably be set with a fixative. I've done these many times and never used a fixative. If you stack them on with other cards, you may get some transfer, or if you were to rub it with your finger, you may get a little bit of shimmer on your finger. But I haven't found it problematic enough to actually use a fixative on it. So you absolutely can if you're concerned about that, but just know that of all the cards I've made with this technique, I've never actually coated one with a fixative when I was done. So I'm just a little bit mindful, I guess, when I stack up the panels or the cards, but beyond that, it hasn't been an issue. So here I'm just working through the panel, kind of making sure to wet any areas that didn't get enough water, and it's also kind of creating a pretty green color where the blue is meeting the yellow, but the black, as you may have seen, had all sorts of colors of pigment in it. So that's always a fun surprise burst when you start spraying it with water. So here I'm just going to kind of clean off my work surface and bang into the the filming arm. Sorry about all the camera shake there, but I'm just going to wipe off my glass mat here just to kind of clean the surface, and then I will just very carefully pull back this stencil to reveal the amazing design. This is my favorite part. It's always just so exciting, and you can see all the detail that remains. So once you give the watercolor just a minute for this to kind of sink in, it stays put and it's not gonna come into the lines where your stencil is, creating that beautiful design. So now I have all this extra left over on the stencil, so I'm going to carefully try and move this very wet panel out of the way so it can air dry. You can use a heat tool on it, but honestly it's so much cooler when you just let it dry naturally, because then you'll get a bigger variation in color with all of those little splotches. So here I'm just going to spritz this top side of the stencil now and flip it over onto another piece of watercolor cardstock, and now you can basically make a monoprint and get a second panel. So it'll look completely different. It won't be as saturated with pigment, but still very cool, and that will dry back awesome as well. So I did let those sit, and I went to move on to other projects, and I'm coming back now to show you what they look like dry. I will set that one aside in a little card box for future use, but I'm going to cut the main one down with these rectangle dies from LDRS Creative. It's a small business in Michigan, and this is one of my favorite stitched edge rectangle dies. I've been using it a ton lately. If you've been watching my videos, you're probably no stranger to it. But I'm just going to use my favorite mint tape from scrapbook.com and run that through off screen through my die cutting machine to create this gorgeous finished edge on the panel. And it did take it down now smaller than A2 size. See here, I was rubbing it to show you. You can get a little bit of transfer on your fingers, but nothing too bad. So now I have a card base here that's 110 pound cardstock, and it's cut down to A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And this is my card panel box. So it used to be a chocolate box, and it was so gorgeous I had to save it. But this is where I kind of put all my little panels that haven't been turned into cards yet. So this is a really nice option to keep them all in one place. So if you need a card quickly, or if you want to batch a bunch of cards, this is a nice component to have ready to go. And there's another one too from my desk. So just going to set that aside and get back to work on this one card. I'm going to use this 1-inch foam tape. I also get this from scrapbook.com. It's my favorite roll of adhesive. And I'm just going to put this right on the back of the panel, and I am putting it down liberally just because, you know, watercolor paper is pretty thick and it can get a little bit warpy. So now I'm just going to figure out how to finish the card. I'm looking through my sentiment book here. This is my storage solution for my die cuts. I have one for die cuts like this. I have one for sentiment strips because I outgrew this book. And then I also have another one that I keep my critters in. So all of my little stamped cutie critters that are colored and cut out. So this is another component of having, you know, the different pieces ready to go that allows me to batch. So this is a gorgeous layered die set that I got from Altenew recently. You get the shadow layer and the die cut, and I put the little tittle on a piece of low-tack tape so I didn't lose it in the chaos of all the other little die cuts. But I attached those together, and I grabbed a couple sentiment strips from LDRS. That strip, as well as the really cool shadow layer, are both from that company as well. And here I have a Wink of Stella brush, and I'm just putting some glimmery, shimmery goodness all over the friend die cut. And then I'm going to add a little bit of blingage with these iridescent sequins. And that's pretty much going to finish the card. So it's not complicated. The hardest part, honestly, is probably just waiting for it to dry, because you're going to be so excited when you see how cool it looks. You're going to want to get to work finishing the card. But overall, if you have pixie spray and a stencil, bust it out and try this technique, because this is just so cool every time and never get sick of it. I do have other videos where I've used Nuvo shimmer powders with stencils. You can also use them with your stamping. You can use them for like outline floral stamps. So it's a really fun item to have in your crafty stash, and I definitely recommend it. Or you probably have something like it, like a watercolor pigment powder or something like that. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the thumbs up, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.